Eli woke up behind the liquor store. The night was cold, dark. A needle still dangled from his arm. The smell of trash, blood on his sleeve, and the empty gnaw of hunger twisted in his gut. He had relapsed. Again. No phone, no wallet, just a crumpled photo in his coat pocket. His mother's face, eyes closed, lips parted in silent prayer. He laughed bitterly. He didn't believe in God, didn't believe in himself. But still, he walked, barefoot, through old streets, places he used to steal, swear he'd get clean. He passed the alley where his friend died of an overdose, the corner where he once knelt as cops pinned him to the pavement. He walked 4 miles. When he reached her house, the porch light was still on. He didn't knock. She opened the door anyway. "Hi, Ma," he whispered. She didn't say a word. She just held him, tight. That night, she made up a mattress on the floor, sat beside him, didn't sleep, just prayed. Thin hands folded, whispering his name like a lifeline. "Eli, please. God, save him." He lay there, silent, afraid to cry, but inside something cracked. After years of addiction, he started to want life again. The first night, Eli didn't sleep, not because of the mattress or the cold or the silence, but because his body was screaming. His muscles twisted, his jaw clenched, his skin felt like it was crawling off his bones. He stared at the ceiling, sweat pouring down his back, his hands gripping the edge of the blanket like a lifeline. Every few minutes, he turned onto his side, curled into himself, trying to stop the shaking. He wanted to scream. He wanted to run. He wanted a hit so bad it made him cry. But he didn't move, because outside his door, his mother was still awake. He could hear her in the next room, whispering, humming a quiet hymn. The same one she used to sing when he was little, curled on the couch during thunderstorms. He closed his eyes, and for a few seconds, it helped. The second night was worse. He vomited into a trash bin 3 times before dawn. His mother never looked away. She cleaned it without a word, handed him a wet cloth, sat beside him as he shook. He cursed out loud once, yelled into the dark. She didn't flinch, just laid a hand on his back. "I'm here," she said. "I never left." Day 4, he tried to leave. He packed what little he had, torn shoes, 1 hoodie, the photo, and stood at the door, ready to disappear. His mother didn't beg, didn't cry. She just said, "You can go, but I'll still be here and I'll still be praying." He looked at her, and for some reason that hurt more than all the shouting in the world. He dropped the bag, collapsed in a heap, and she caught him again. The cravings came in waves, sharp, violent, tempting. There were nights he stared at his old dealer's number written on the inside of his shoe. 1 call, that's all it would take. But then he'd hear his mother in the kitchen, boiling tea, talking to God like he was sitting at the table with her. "Thank you for today," she'd say. "Thank you for the small things." And Eli would close his eyes and cry again. 3 weeks in, he took his first walk down the block. Sunlight burned his skin. The world felt too loud. He wore a hat, kept his head down. Every crack in the pavement reminded him of someone he'd hurt. But he walked, and when he came back, she had dinner ready. Simple soup, fresh bread. She smiled like he'd just come home from college. And for the first time in years, he smiled back. By the end of the first month, he hadn't used, not once. He still shook at night, still woke from nightmares, still hated himself on most mornings. But he kept waking up, kept eating, kept listening to his mother pray. And one morning, as she prayed, he did something he hadn't done in years. He whispered, "Amen." Soft, shaky, but real. He started reading the Bible with her in the evenings. Not because he believed, but because she did. Because every time she read a verse, her voice trembled like it mattered, and slowly, he started to listen to words like grace, mercy, forgiveness. He didn't understand them yet, but he wanted to. And for the first time in his life, wanting was enough. One night, he asked her, "Did you ever think I was too far gone?" She looked at him, smiled. No one's too far for God to reach. And something inside him broke again. But this time, it wasn't pain. It was the beginning of healing. Winter passed like a long exhale. Eli had been clean for 6 months. No drugs, no alcohol, no lies. But he still couldn't look himself in the mirror. He still saw addict, failure, the one who broke his mother's heart, even though she never called him any of those things. She only called him one name, God's son. One Sunday morning, his mother invited him to church. He hesitated, nearly turned back, but she gently held his hand. "You don't have to believe right away," she whispered. "Just walk in." He sat in the last row, head down the entire service, no singing, no lifting his eyes, until the pastor stepped up, his voice deep and calm. "If you think you've gone too far to be saved, you might be the very one God is chasing." Eli looked up, and for the first time he didn't feel like a stranger. The next week he volunteered to clean the church floors. No one asked him. He just wanted to do something. Clean. His hands had once held needles, shattered windows, stolen wallets. Now they held a mop, and somehow, it gave him peace. One afternoon, as he was leaving, a young boy from Bible class ran up to him. "Who are you?" the boy asked. Eli smiled, a little awkward. "Someone who was lost," he said, trying to find his way home. The boy nodded, then ran off. Too young to understand, but Eli stood still. That answer wasn't for the boy, it was for himself. One evening, the pastor invited him to talk. "I heard you've stayed clean," he said. Eli nodded. "Do you believe," the pastor asked, "that God can use your wounds to heal others?" Eli was silent. Then he laughed, short and bitter. "I used to shoot up behind this church. I punched a guy in the restroom once." The pastor didn't flinch. He placed a hand on Eli's shoulder. "Then you know exactly where to stand so someone else doesn't fall." From then on, Eli began to share, quietly, humbly, at a small recovery group in the church basement. He told them about the night he nearly died behind a liquor store, about the mother who refused to let go. People listened. One man cried. A young woman came up to him afterward, trembling. "Do you think God still wants me?" Eli looked her in the eyes. "If I get to stand here," he said, "you still have your whole life ahead of you." 2 years later, Eli stood at the pulpit for the first time. Not as a pastor, not yet, but as a son of God. A man once lost. A man prayed home from hell by a mother who never stopped believing. He opened the Bible, fingers still scarred, and said, with steady voice, "I'm not here because I earned it. I'm here because he never gave up on me." His mother sat in the front row, weeping, for the first time since the day he was born, because finally, the prodigal had found his way home. Eli stood outside the rehab center he once ran from. The same walls, the same broken windows. But this time, he was invited. He walked through the doors, not high, not hiding, not hopeless. He walked in with a Bible in one hand and the photo of his mother in the other. The room was quiet, 12 men, all watching, all hurting. He didn't start with a sermon. He said, "I've slept in your shoes. I've prayed from your rock bottom. I've begged God to take me or change me." A few heads dropped. One man wiped a tear. Eli smiled gently. "I thought I was too far gone, but grace doesn't check how far you've fallen. It reaches down anyway." He held up the photo. "This woman never gave up on me. And through her, God never did either." Silence, then a soft voice. "Can God still use someone like me?" Eli nodded. "Especially someone like you." He left that night with one hand shaken, then another, then all 12. and a heart burning brighter than the fire that once nearly killed him. If God used a junkie to preach hope, what could he do with someone like you?